Family, thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Kenan, with Black Gay Table Talk, and we are on location here in Miami for South Florida's Afro Pride celebration, along with Black Prides United. So, right now, I have an amazing guest for us, for you guys to meet if you don't know her Miss
already.
Valencia Gunder, aka V. She is the co director at the Smile Trust, founder at the Freedom Lab, which we're at right now, which is fantastic, by the way, and executive director of Community Emergency Operations Center, right?
Yes.
All right. How are you today?
I'm well. I'm well. I have one more title. I'm also the executive director of the BLK Collective. Also,
I think I missed that one, y'all. It's like,
many jobs, many jobs. It's okay.
I love it. I love it. So let me ask you, what's the most rewarding part of the work that you do?
For me, I think it's the restoration of hope in people. You know, I remember the first time I went out to like pass out food to community. I felt this thing in my spirit. I was just like, oh, this feels good. I know it didn't fix all the problems, but just to see the hope just restoring a person's body and their mind and their eyes, that felt really good to me. And I feel like that's the most rewarding piece of it, just knowing that I choose to get up every day to help people and I can see the impact. And it may not be the largest impact in the world, but the impact in the individual directly, that's receiving the services or the information or the support. And that's what makes me get up in the morning and makes me lay down at night feeling good. hmm
Amazing. So actually tell us about your organizations that you're associated with.
So before everything, I'm a revolutionary. So I always like to tell people that because some people like me, you have a lot of jobs or whatever, but I consider this my life's work. So I did start an organization called the Smile Trust. We are a food justice and housing insecurity organization. We also do community disaster resiliency planning and response through the U.S. South and the Caribbean islands. Our goal is to, create systems that are built by people, that's held by the people, without the assistance of government, to be able to, respond to ourselves, to support ourselves in the time of mishaps, shocks, and stressors. And we've been doing that work for over 10 years now here in Miami. Also, we have a base in Atlanta, but most of our work happens throughout US South, with different organizations in different cities and things like that. I also am the co-founder and executive director of the Black Collective. We do Black civic engagement and leadership development here in Miami, Florida, as a local organization. And it's going to remain local because we want to really, really focus here in the city. So we do political education, to trainings, we do historical walks, we do Black data projects, and we also just, empower people with information so they understand their rights for them to fight for themselves. Because I don't believe that I'm the savior for nobody. I don't save anybody. You know what I'm saying? I actually don't serve anybody. I just, create tools of resources for people and they serve themselves. So that's, the bottom line of the work. And then we also created the Freedom Lab here, which I am the director of, and it is our liberation laboratory. In the Freedom Lab, we decided to be in praxis of all of the ideology and the politics that we talk about. So, oftentimes people are like, oh, we need to figure out how to feed ourselves and how to house ourselves, and our people need health care and everything. But at the Freedom Lab, you can get food, groceries, and hot food every single day. You can get assistance with paying your bills if you need it. We also have a free clinic on site. We also still do leadership development programming. We do physical health programming. We have Monday Miles by Black Men Bill, and we do boxing classes, all the different things. And everything in this building is 100% free to community. So we wanted to create a physical space, a location where people knew they can come and actually have a one-stop shop to get the things that they need, especially when you feel gaps in your life. So our ideology is to, build systems of abundance, you know. So we ask people to like hit us up if you're $50 short on your rent. Don't wait until your rent's late to come to us. Like trying to think of it that way, like abundance. Like before you get sick, come see the doctor. Before you run out of food, come get the groceries. So you're not in a deficit, you know. And it's such a great place to be. It's a great place to work in. It's a coalition of organizations in here. Just to name them, I like to give them all a shout out. Outside of our organizations, the Smile Trust and the Black Collective, we have the Dream Defenders in the space, Black Men Build, Ladies of Hope Ministry, the Village Fridge, and Doctors Within Borders, which is our free clinic here on site. We also launch mobile crisis units, which are an alternative to 911. So if you're having a mental health crisis, call us, opposed to calling the police because they harm people, especially Black men, when they have a mental crisis. But we have a team of doctors and medical students that can show up to your front door and give you the actual care that you need, opposed to punitive punishment when you just are having a mental crisis. I mean, we host different events. Whoever wants to use the space to do events, community events, we have all those good things here. And we've been here now 3 years,
Mhm.
and we're super excited just to see where the future takes us.
Yes, yes. I love that. I it's so funny. I whenever I'm moved, I make this joke that I'm gonna get up and run through the room. I almost ran through this whole room just now. Like the whole room. I love it. And I love that you're visible and that you're helping people before it gets too bad. You're letting them know that you're here. We have these resources. We can get you what you need. Just communicate and let us know that that you're in need.
That's right.
I love that. So let me ask you this. Speaking of community, how has being a part of the Black LGBTQ plus community helped shape your understanding of what pride and visibility means overall?
So, as a Black queer woman myself, I usually one try to show up in my leadership as a Black queer woman to show people that Black queer people can lead movements, we can lead solutions, we can build solutions. And I think oftentimes people automatically think about, queer spaces as like these over sexualized spaces and things like that or whatnot. And we are sexy, period. But however, that's not all we are, We are a community of an amazing gamut of talents and solutions and ideas and dreams. And, for myself, I think about what I am to bring to the table to assist all of us to get to liberation. And I know when I get to liberation, I want to liberate my entire self, right? Some people don't understand the word liberation. It's just, we fight liberty. That's the ability to live as your full self without harming the next person. You get what I'm saying? So oftentimes, especially as Black people, we are told to like, you're Black first, or you're a man first, or a woman first. I'm all of these things first, right? And who I am and who I decide to love and how I try to show who I decide to show up as in the world is all of the things that I am. And I think being a part of a community of people who also understands like your feelings and your emotions and your thinking, especially in a world that is just so homophobic and so problematic around people living in their freedoms, it's very comforting to know that you could be around people and being your full self, all my Blackness, all my womanness, and all of my queerness all at the same time, and not have to walk on eggshells or have to explain yourself. As a Black queer woman, sometimes when I'm in Black queer spaces, I have to explain my Blackness. You know, times when I'm only in spaces with men, I got to explain my feminism. And then sometimes, in straight spaces, I have to explain my queerness, but I feel as if when we're in Black queer spaces, I don't have to explain those things or have to defend those things because everybody here is that, Um, within my leadership and in the way I work or whatnot, I always bring queerness to the forefront of my work, not just in my words, right? You may look at my social media and stuff and don't understand or hear me talk about it other than calling myself the gay auntie, but I don't necessarily talk about my queerness or whatnot, but I use it in my actions. So one, my co-director, Braylon Brown, is a man of trans experience, He is in leadership. He actually got hired at the organization before I paid myself. That's a way to show up front, like, I actually respect Black queer leadership in a real way. Our first round of housing, the Smile Trust in partnership with Trans Inclusive Group, um, we created the first and only, all Black transitional housing here in Miami. Um, and some people were like, "V, you could have did housing for a lot of people." But I'm like, I felt in that moment that Black trans women were the most vulnerable when it came to housing. And I felt like that's where we needed to focus first, you know, and, putting my money, my time, my capacity where my mouth is, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people could talk, but, like, in the way we move our resources, the way we do things, even when we do mutual aid stipends, we have a certain number set aside for queer people, trans people, you know what I'm saying? It's not about talking, being in partnership and true respect of queer and trans leadership, not just for myself, and not just even for Braylon, but for all the people that's in our community that sometimes don't get seen or that sometimes don't have the support or the resources they need to bring their dream to reality, being in those spaces and supporting the ideas of other folks so that they can bring things to the forefront that will help our community ultimately, you know. And I just, appreciate, spaces like Afro Pride and things like that. I was one of the founding board members of Afro Pride when they first started. Because I thought it was important, especially being here in Miami. A lot of people don't think it's a lot of Black people in Florida, which is a lie. It's a lot of us. And for you know, Damon and Donald to think about creating a Black space for Black queer people in a real way, and advocacy was great. And even though it's a lot of other people doing the same thing, right? But I just felt like it was super important because I was like, we don't have Black Pride in Miami. But then Donald and I'm like, yes, we're gonna have Black Pride here. We're gonna do these things here, and I love that. And you're starting to see a lot who, playing programming and events and things like that, and that makes me feel really, really good. And I also, think to myself about like the people who came before me to fight for me to live in the freedom I am today. Like, I think about when I came out. Right, even though I had been dyking for a long time. I, finally came out because I fell in love with the woman and I was like, I can't hide this woman. I just love her so much. All the things. And I was so afraid. I was afraid. And I'm like 30 years old. Child. I'm like grown on my own, make my own money. And I'm still afraid because I'm my daddy's girl and I really thought my father would like get upset. And honestly, this man says, I thought you was gay since you was in the sixth grade. I was just waiting on you to tell me. Sir, you should have told me. Because I would have been out here in these streets. However, I think about the community that came around me at the time. Like when I dared to be brave for myself, knowing that I didn't have to be a brave alone. That felt really, really good. And, thinking about like, maybe 40, 50 years ago, a woman couldn't have did what I'm doing right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm married to my beautiful wife. And, the fact that I was able to marry my wife, was a big thing. And then thinking about all the years of the work and all the years of the advocacy and the fight for us to be living in our freedoms, for us to have a Black pride, for us to be able to like, be in these leadership positions, to fight for our partners, to live in public in our freedom, to love on ourselves and each other in a real way. So I think about all of that when I'm being a part of the community. I'm thankful for the people who came before me, for the people who fought and who was dreaming and scheming and making their dreams a reality for us to live in our reality right now. And just think about the future, right? How I want, the babies and the babies after that and the generations we will never meet, right? They may never know our name, but they know that they're able to live in their full selves because we are deciding right now to create narratives and to fight for and build systems and programs where they can live even in more freedom than that we're living in now. I get a little preachy. I ain't had no coffee this morning now.
Ooh, Lord. And that's really what it's about. It's about so much, like everything that you named, especially thinking about the babies coming up behind us
Yes.
and not having to live in fear or duck and hide behind corners or, oh, this is my roommate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I love that. What was that like when you came out with your dad and he said, I thought you were from, you know, way back when? Like, did you have that sense of relief? Did you question like, "Well, what made you think I was?" or,
Yeah,
anything like that?
yeah. I mean, so I came out very publicly. I like posted on social media and like my family gonna find out. And then my dad called me, right? And when he said that to me, I didn't ask him why he thought that. I knew why he thought that, right? I knew. Like, although I dated men through school, grade school, college, and some of my adult years, I was not the one to bring no dude to Thanksgiving dinner. None of that stuff. Like I was just like, whatever. And I'll be honest with you, a man never broke my heart before because I never gave it to them to start off with. Like I just want to be honest. But I was doing what society told me to do. And I know my daddy saw that. You know what I'm saying? Like I was really close to my father as a child. He saw that in me. Like my family just knew. They knew and they was like, girl, we fine. When we gonna meet her? When we gonna meet her? The world has changed so much that a person like my father, my grandmother, my mother, my aunts and uncles, um, were, you know, I guess like educated enough to not react the wrong way because I hear the horror stories. I hear the horror stories, and I'm grateful that I don't have a horror story, but I also know that like mine is not the status quo. My story is not the status quo. And I think about as I navigate watching other young people go through this process and things like that. And like now I'm 41, 41, yeah, 41. And I, have friends with children and some of them are teenagers or young adults and they're coming into their own, right? And they're identifying their sexuality even if it's one thing today and another thing tomorrow because we could be fluid, hey. and they call me and they were like, V, my daughter or my son said this to me or whatnot. And the first thing I tell them, I say, listen, let me tell you something, especially amongst black queer people, especially young boys between the ages of 14 and 24 has the highest rate of suicide. I say, so you're going to push your baby out in the street or you're going to decide to love them? Which one you going to do? Because my family decided to love me, you know? And I feel like as if I'm stronger for that. I am way more understanding because of that. And even though my family, without me knowing, may have struggled through some of the things, that they still decided to love me through it regardless. And that's the advice I give to everybody. Like if you're dealing with children who are trying to figure out their sexuality and understanding the things and they coming out and all of these different things, whatever way they doing it, you should decide to love them through it regardless. Pushing them out of the house, pushing them away, beating them, hitting them, traumatizing them, it's not good. When outside of the house, they already catching that, you know? And I'm just so happy that my family decided to stand in the gap. And I also still understand that I have a privilege as a feminine lesbian woman. Lesbianism is so much more accepted than other parts of our queerness. You get what I'm saying? Because people over sexualize us and things like that. And I feel very comfortable with making space for other people in this queer spectrum, right? And also being in defense mode to ensure that I am making space and advocating for other people as they navigate their own sexuality.
What's a moment, recent or historic, that reminds you of the power of Black queer energy, resistance, or community?
I think two times. I have a historic moment and a more recent moment. I think the historic moment is Marsha P herself. You know what I'm saying? Like the epitome of black queerness. You get what I'm saying? And I know she wasn't the only person that was a part of that movement. It was a lot of people who names we would never know, but Marsha P and the crew. Let me say that in the crew. You feel me? Um, I think like I'm super proud because people know of the advocacy and the things that she did, but I also, want people to realize that like she was feeding people and housing people and all of these things. And I just feel like that is so historically amazing to know because although she was fighting for queer rights and things like that, she also was standing up models of self-determination, right? How do we serve and resource one another and support one another through this healing and sharing resources? And I feel as if like that's a pivotal moment. Like if people have not taken the time to actually pay attention to that movement at the time, right? This is before it was AIDS rights and all of that stuff, that time like that. I couldn't even imagine trying to survive as a queer person at that time. But for them to create systems and partnerships and family and camaraderie amongst each other, and like to know that like Marsha P was like at the middle of some of that makes me feel really, really good. So it's like Marsha P and the crew, that era of that work that was happening, that made sure that we can be who we are today. That was like, well, based on my historical thing. I'm quite sure it's queer people before that we could name, but in that one moment, you know, it was good to learn about and to actually ground myself in and things like that. And I think in this newer iteration, shout out to the black women that's like leading the movement right now. Like, like I know a lot of people look at like Black Lives Matter, movement for Black Lives, and all the different things or whatever, but those spaces are led by queer black women. They're led by queer black women. And I'm just like, yo, like even for the folks, like I said, people who names you would never know that are doing this work, that's out here building things like the Tatiana Braxtons of the world and the Jasmine McKenzie's of the world. That's some of the comrades down here that's in leadership. And just people that are just like out here doing the thing every single day. And over the last 10 to 12 years, we've seen black queer leadership just rise. And just like to that class of folks, this movement that we're in right now, this iteration of movement we're in right now, shout out to the black queer people who are saying Black Lives Matter, defund the police. We need to reshape the world. You know what I'm saying? Creating things like queer black feminism and writing the books and telling the stories, like, and creating platforms like this, like making sure our stories are captured and things like that. Like, shout out to us in this moment for the work, because I think sometimes we get so busy doing the work that we don't take a moment to like pat ourselves on the back. Like, come on, like it ain't perfect, it ain't all encompassing, but it is a step forward. You know,
Yeah. Like, okay. Um, you're amazing. You are truly. I'm sorry. No, that was for her though. But you are amazing, and um, I'll say the driving force behind Black A Table Talk or any other initiative I've started, right, is because I want to give a voice to those who have the boots on the ground. Though a lot of times being on the receiving end, you don't get to see the sacrifices that are made, or you don't get to see the frustrations or the sometimes hurt that comes along with doing this because you're giving out so much of you to help those around you and it's selfless, right? So a lot of what organizers and leaders like yourself go through, sometimes it has to get put to the side. So I love being able to spotlight you all, give a moment to kind of see deeper behind the work that you do. And I'm so thankful for you. And while I'm not, here directly, you're setting the tone for future generations, for others to be inspired to do the work in their areas. And um, I'm thankful. So, yes, that being said, um, is there anything that you would want to let people know that they may assume that they know regarding B?
I am a really nice person. I also want people to know that I actually do believe in people. I do believe in the people, against all the odds, everything that's put toward against us right now, all the things that are happening. I do believe that the people will stand. I do believe that, and I also, want people to know that I am a closeted comedian. I feel like I'm super funny. Nobody else would rock that, but I think I'm funny, and things like that. I also, in my dreams, in my future life, I'm gonna be a fashionista full time, and I am also super proud to live in Florida. You know, Florida is a place that a lot of people look on the news, be like, "Oh God, the Florida man again." But Florida is not just that. Florida is not just that. We are a beautiful state of black people, people of color, um, poor people, middle class people that actually want to live their lives and thrive and build just raise their families. We are beautiful. We have culture, we have history, we have all those things. And I just want people to know that like I am super proud to live here. I am super proud to be in the fight here amongst other comrades. I am super proud of the work that we are able to do. And regardless of what y'all see on the TV and everything, people are fighting. People are fighting every single day, you know. And yes, we don't have it all together. And yes, you know, it's hard for us to dream and scheme. You know, people are like, oh, in California they doing this. I'm like, we still in the South. We still in the South, even though we got palm beaches and the beaches and everything. No, it's still happening. It's still happening, and we fight. We fight, and we're standing up on it. We're building solutions, and I'm super proud to be a part of that. To help build the vision of that amongst other folks, and I also, you know, want people to know that like, well, not the people now. Let me be clear. I want like 20 years from now, if somebody was to see this video, or 30 years from now, they can take what it is that they see that we're building and build something even greater from that. You know, like use this as inspiration. You know, what would you learn from what we're doing now, the work that I'm doing now, that will build something new and more grand and more sustainable for the people in the long run? That's what I would like for people to know. And lastly, I am everybody's favorite Gemini, and I'm a very great cook.
I love it. Well, again, family, Valencia Gunder, aka V, an amazing individual doing some amazing work. Again, I'm thankful for you. Anything that we can do to help elevate the work that you do, whether it's helping touch other people, more people, or just showing support by giving or what have you, we are there. Yes. So, family, we will drop links in the description for the video. Make sure you go out, check out what V has going on with the different organizations, and find out how you can impact, how you can be a part of the impact. And as always, you know the impact when we show up and show out for our community. So let's keep doing it.